say something into the mic.
Check, test.
I'll hear it in like a little bit.
Usually I had more extension than this. Am I missing something here? Oh, here it is. Here it is.
Is it got all the middle?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, you're fine.
All right. Actually is called Team Mooney Less right now. Unfortunately, Mark Mooney work commitments at the last minute forced him to be on the job rather than here, so they're going three-person here in the Spiel. It's unfortunate, but subs are not allowed in this particular competition. So Nina Reininger will be calling the shots from the house. Right now there's 7 teams in the field. As I said, Team Casper is 4-0. Team Pulley at 3-1. Team Marstrulo at 3-2. And then at 2-2, we have both Team Krume and Team Shaw. At 1-3, Team Mooney. And Team Prohaska still looking for that first win at 0-5. So it's Team Mooney who had the best LSD, and therefore Team Casper will be throwing the first rock. So, Sydney Mullaney throwing lead rocks here. That's a slight change in lineup. They're having a little rotation here in the games up until now. Susan Dutt has been throwing the lead rocks, but they're both very capable at playing both positions, lead and third. So the first rock going into the house. All right, Patty Hefner being asked to remove that, and I like this call. This happens lots of times first end. You'll see an exchange of rocks, but I especially like it because of what I call a scoring rock. I don't like it putting up a corner rock guard at this point in time because you end up chasing the other team for most of the end. So I really like this. Even if you're behind, you can still hit this rock. The other team now, if they hit that rock, instead of being biting button, they're only going to be full 8. They're not even going to be biting forefoot probably. Certainly not if they're on the center line. And then you can put up your corner guard, and it's called a delayed corner. The other team still can't take you out, given the 5-rock free guard zone. So I really like this start, but in all likelihood, we're going to have a rather clean first end here, just an exchange of rocks. So Sydney, perfect so far, making the draw to the full 4 on the center line and then making the hit. Patty making her first hit and now being asked to do the same thing on her second shot. Little tight, Don going to work, and this is the one disadvantage they'll have. They've only got the one sweeper to try and hold line on this, and I would say, looking right now, Don's going to have to really pull a miracle off to save this one. It's going to be close, but no cigar, as they say. Throwing second for Danny, Eli Clausen. Had the pleasure of being at Junior Nationals helping to coach. Keith Dropkin was the head coach. I was the technical coach for Team Senate. Eli throwing second on that team. And then we also went to the men's competition out in Spokane, and the Team Senate was very successful out there, coming away with bronze medals. Eli being asked to put up the center line guard. Didn't get over quite as far as they want, but a nice effort. See, just touching the center line. Nina looking for hack weight. pretty standard signal for hack weight amongst competitive teams, just touching your foot, which obviously is because that's what goes in the hack. All right, Patty, just with the weight looks good. I'd say it's no more than hack. This is a great weight to have in your repertoire of shots. If you can throw this weight consistently when asked, and that's beautiful. Just move it out. Now roll into the side. I like that even better, possibly, than sitting there. Keep going like this. Nina might be able to just blank this end and still have hammer going in the second end, score something in the second, and you're up after 2 ends of play. That's the theory anyway. Eli being asked to hit and roll back to the center line. Again, I like this weight. This is just a nice control weight. Still enough weight that you hit it in the right spot. You can roll where you want, but it's never very encouraging when you've got the sweeper trying to push the rock back to the line. It's hard to do. It just means a little wide of the broom. Earlier in the week, this side was running a little straighter than the other side, and that was the path where I'd noticed the other day it was running a little straight. All right, so Nina had a choice of shots here. She could have, at this point, get into Don's last of his second rocks to just peel the guard and go for the blank, but it'll certainly makes it more interesting for us coming around here now and going for the score. Unfortunately, it slipped behind the tee line. So Danny just asking Susan now, throwing third rock, Susan Dutt out of Philadelphia, to come around, sit top 4. It would be okay. He wouldn't be totally unhappy if it came down and froze on the back one, but I think he'd prefer to be behind the guard in top 4. I've known Susan since, well, probably longer than she can remember me, because I coached her older brothers, and she probably started the Philadelphia junior program when she was about 6, and so been a long time junior out of Philadelphia that I've had the pleasure of coaching. All right, so Don coming down again with that ice. He's not being asked for much weight, possibly just asking to tap it back, tap it through. The weight's nice if it curls enough. Unfortunately, just ticks it. Not what they're looking for. So Danny's got a decision now. Does he go on the offense? Yeah, he's going right after it, saying put it top 4. And I like it. He can end up putting that rock where it's half open, and we call that the Christmas tree. Basically a straight line from the long guard to the house in the back 4. If you have all 3 rocks on the line, you only see half of the 2 rocks that are in the house. And therefore very difficult for the other team to hit and stay certainly in that line or get an inside roll. Right now, if they can curl it a little bit more up, but not going to get the Christmas tree effect. It's in a straight line with the shot rock in the back 4. All right, Nina tightening the broom up here, looking Don to hit, roll a little to the inside, and if that happens, I think both of those blue rocks have an opportunity of disappearing. Nice control weight by Don. Well, he's not going to get the inside roll. This might not work out the way they want. Yeah. All right, so Danny got away with not taking that red rock out. He let the opposition do it for him.
T+, you get back.
It's all right. I'm already taking abuse on my Canadian accent here about hitting the rocks out. I'm just about to ready to hand this mic over to yeah. All right, getting a little support here. All right, this is the key shot. They're looking for this before, and again, if they can just get it on the inside half of that shot rock, it will be perfect. And fighting top four is where I'd like it. Sweepers just nicely hard cleaning. Now they're going on it. Weight has to be close. These folks are very good at judging. Now they're off. All right. Very nice shot. Just ever so slightly deeper than I might like. The rocks are fairly close together to make them both disappear here. So, throwing skip rocks here, like I said, Nina Reiniger. Seen all of these folks at GNCC Bonspiels, all out of the Plainfield Curling Club for many years. Don Arsenal. All right, Nina, this is a firm hit. Got to get by that top guard. It's mighty close at this point in time. And just ticks it. So close to perfection. But if you're going to miss, that's the sign to miss it on. Move the guard over. So Danny Casper coming down to throw his final rock. Danny and his team are a good representation of the GNCC clubs. Danny being out of Ardsley, Susan, as I mentioned, being out of Philadelphia, Eli being out of Potomac, and Sydney being out of Broomstones. They've all known each other throughout their junior career. Danny looking to cap these two rocks. No sweeping yet, but they are starting to dust now. Yep, cleaning. They like the weight. They're going on and off. Going to be a tough last shot here for Nina because the line is perfect. The line is really good. So really, Nina's only opportunity here is to come down and try and only give up one. So this is not a shot to score. This is a shot to only give up one. She needs full four for that to happen. So I think this may be the first rock down this side of the sheet. Of course, we have had 2 9-minute practices going on before this game started. So this is not like most club curling games where you're going out and it's first end. But still, it will be slightly different than all the speeds of the rocks that have been all thrown down on the intern side. Or I should say the clockwise side, because we might have a lefty listening out there. Sweepers, I think it's close, but they got to get by the guard. Got to get by the guard. Whoa, they do. They do. Easy, folks. Easy now. Easy. Easy. That is a fantastic shot. There really wasn't a chance to score there. And giving up one. Yes, the cowbells are ringing here. That's great. I like telling my teams that when the other team steals in the first end, to just look at it like you didn't have hammer, and in this case you can say, hey, we forced them to take one. Isn't that great? You know, now we got hammer in the second, let's go score and have the lead after 2 ends of play.
Subs, when they're really good players out here, they're subs.
one and the team ended up being really bad. So the people that lost and played on this, you know, we were this kind of playing. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of a hollow statement. You're not going
It's easy to remember. Yeah. That's a tough girl to remember.
Nice first rock put in by Sydney. And Nina again, just like I was talking earlier, removing that rock, it's close to the center line, it's biting the forefoot, sort of saying, hey, let's get rid of that. And we'll see then whether she actually puts up a delayed corner or not, depending on what happens here. But there's a lot to be said for making sure that when you have hammer, that the other team does not steal on you, especially early in the game. Don's going hard. It's close, but just missed it by that much, as Maxwell Smart would say. I still like the call. So we do have two other games going on at this point in time. We have Team Pulley at 3-1 taking on Team Shot 2-2. So that's a huge game for impact on the standings and the chance of getting to post-round robin play. The first end was blanked, and I can't say for sure who had hammer. But actually now I've just counted the rocks, and Pulley has hammer in that. So they blanked the first, in a good position to be in the lead after two ends of play. And Sydney put up a nice guard on top. Patty coming down with quiet takeout weight here. Has to get by the free guard. Has to get by the free guard or it's going back. Has to get by. Oh, I think the cowbell's going again. There it is. So I like that. I like that a whole lot. So over on Sheet D, we have another game going on, Team Crumay against Team Marashulo. And Marashulo is at 3-2, as I said before, and Team Crumay is at 2-2. So there should be another good battle out there. Teams with very similar records going at it. And right now, it's Team Crumay that took 2 in the first and have a 2-0 lead. So Nina, just asking for a hack weight takeout on this guard, and I like this call as well. It's she's just asking for hack. She wants to remove that guard up top and leave her shooter in play so that she hopefully will have a corner guard rather than a rock right in front. And it just increases the odds that she'll be the team scoring in this end. Right now, it's close to running back. All right. Even though that nosed it, and the blue rock is still buried behind the red, it is now one rock further away, making it easier for Nina, if nothing changed until her last rock, to actually score. Just one rock less close to the pin in order to get that single point. This is close, coming around close. What it, Eli Clausen just rubbing off. All right. Nina's got a choice now. All right. They made that nice soft hit out coming around the guard, and I think they actually have a little more room even on this one. And they do curl this way. We saw it the other day. They will curl going this way. It's got more weight, but it's close. It's close. Oh, I think that was all Patty sweeping. Got that one by the guard. Go, Patty. All right, Susan Dutt being asked to remove the rock. They're going hard. That is one of the strengths of this youth. I mean, this is youth versus experience going at it here, and Sydney certainly can put the broom and keep the rock straight. All right, Nina switching to a little bit offense here, but by having played sort of defensively up until now, their blue does not have any rocks out front of the house on the center line. They do have two on the 4-foot line in the house that are counting. But in terms of Nina's ability to score, should things not change dramatically until the end of the end, the odds are pretty good. And she still has a chance of scoring multiples if they can get this rock in a scoring position. It's just by the guard. It's a little heavy. Will it come down? Just that much heavy. But I think it's a great example of, you can play defensively for the first few rocks and still have a good chance of scoring multiple points. If that had just stopped a foot shorter, it would be in a pretty good spot. Danny probably would have tried to come around and sit on it, but that shot still has to be made. It's not the easiest shot to do. But in this case, he's trying to beat Nina to be the one coming around those guards and sitting in the 4-foot on top of the center line, or in front of the center line, I should say. Eli, just a horse in terms of sweeping at the men's nationals. So Nina's just looking at a increasingly higher stakes end here. Liking that hack weight, and I like it too. Keep your shooter around. Make Danny's team come back and actually have to make a hit and a roll rather than just another draw. Line's pretty good out of the hand. No sweeping going on yet. The weight's a little stronger than hack, but it's more board weight. Yeah, just that difference. I was fortunate to be at Women's Worlds last year, and the biggest difference I found between the top 4 rinks and the rest of the field was that request for hack weight, back line weight, back 8-foot. When the top teams asked for that, they got it. They just seem to have that in their pocket throughout. And if you're in the back end of a team, if you can get that with those weights down, practice those weights, board, hack, back line, back house, have those so that when called upon, you got it. Yep, calling Eli down. They want to figure out where to put this one. They're looking at taps versus putting a guard on the center line for them hitting it. What I would not want them to do is try and put a tight guard on the center line and end up coming up short, where all of a sudden you've given Nina a couple of rocks to draw around.
She did it yesterday during the morning.
All right, I think they've settled on just putting one in the top 12 so that Nina has to do something different than what she called upon on the last shot, and that's always good. Don't give a team the same shot twice.
You can get it all. Wasn't it cheap?
And there you are. Yes, I just heard Joe Calabrese in the house, and you know, just like I don't like doing accounting or paying bills when I'm not at work because my background's financial. You know, Joe's doing me a big favor. He's agreed to come talk for one end, share the mic here with me. Joe, of course, is behind TESN and is the reason you're able to be watching this right now. And so many clubs have taken advantage of that. That's all. That rub was pretty nice, actually. He'll take that. So, Nina, do you try and come around now? Do you hit those rocks on the middle?
I don't want to know. I think we were just talking about it yesterday. We were talking about it yesterday.
I think her choices are, if she wants to make sure she scores, I would hit the one on the center line that was just thrown and double out a couple of them, slash it in there. You're going to lose your shooter. If you're looking at scoring a couple, I'd come around right now. Looking at reducing the possible damage. Now this is good as well. There's a couple of ways of doing what I call avoiding an unacceptable outcome. Right now, she's looking at blue counting 3, and an unacceptable outcome when you have hammer. Really, giving up a steal of 2 or more is almost in the unacceptable category, but certainly giving up 3 when you have hammer is unacceptable. And I mean, she may be trying the run back. I didn't see her sort of lining that up, but that would not be a bad call if she nailed it. But it seemed to me she was looking outside it. I think she's trying to slash. Oh, all right. Well, Danny's going to have to do something to stop her from coming in and hitting that shot rock. I don't mind this. Coming down and tapping that rock a week further, that would be fine, because the shooter would sit right there, 3 rocks right across, blocking the shot rock. Nina really would only be left with the draw on the clockwise turn. But the other nice thing about coming into the house here and counting 1 more is it just increased the pressure for that last draw shot, facing 4 instead of 3. It's curling. I think it might be rubbing, but oh no, just by, exactly what he was asking for. Exactly. Really, Nina could hit that all day and she's not going to be shot rock. So I think she has to, and she's figured it out, not going to waste much clock time. They do have 30 minutes of thinking time, each team here, for 8 ends. And they're both going along very nicely. All right. So, come on, Nina. Not cheering for either side. I'm cheering for good shots and a close game here. But it would be nice for her to see her get full 8, fighting 4 to cut them down to 1, or full 4 to take a point here. You want to make sure you take plenty of ice here, that you are not going to crash on that guard getting by. As long as you're in the 8 foot, you're cutting down a lot. And this ice looks good. Hit this stick. And she's out to the broom. Uh-oh, Patty indicating with a hand that it's all there. It is starting to come, though. It is starting to come. They're having to go for a line. Oh, this is the one thing that couldn't happen. The one thing that couldn't happen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or as Vic says, count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Well, as I said, we do have Joe Calabrese in the house here, and I'm going to hand the mic over here during the break here, and maybe I can convince him to stay on a little bit during the third end of curling here. But Joe, of course, I mentioned TESN. That's great. I think the first time I met Joe was at the Philadelphia, when the Nationals were held in Philadelphia, just trying to break in so that we could get streaming to U.S. folks regarding curling. And Joe, maybe you could just talk a little bit about the development of TESN. What do you see some of the major growth things have been that we're able to enjoy from so many clubs, things going on in the streaming of curling in the United States?
Sure. I mean, I guess what I would say most of all is that we're involving so many clubs now in streaming, and they aren't all affiliated with us, but so many curling clubs across the country now have streaming and can bring you events like this on a weekly basis. And now it's sort of that time of year when all those championship type events come up. So it's pretty cool to be able to see that. In terms of business, we're not trying to make a fortune here. We're just trying to get good curling on the internet. And I think we've done a lot of that, over the last, 10 years or so. We've grown as a business, and we have more cameras and now to do nationals and big events. But it's great to see all these clubs in the area, in the area of the U.S. Get the game out there to more people. I'd love to see it more in Canada, to be honest with you. I'd love to see curling clubs do that in Canada, but they really don't, which is kind of odd.
That could be because they're spoiled with how much coverage they get in terms of, the cash spiel's up there, and so much good curling on television that we don't get down here. Although NBC seems to have caught on that, hey, this sport of curling is something that the consumer is looking for to see more of. But Europe is big into this, right? And I agree with you. I think streaming, as more and more people, the young folks, especially that generation, grow up, I mean, that's what they look at, right? Streaming. It doesn't have to be a big budget TV production to get quality, as people can see from your productions, like we just saw out in Spokane. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that. We had some fantastic games out there. How did it go at Spokane from your perspective?
Well, I mean, U.S. Nationals in Spokane was terrific. I mean, we had such great games. The finals were terrific. Between the top two teams in both the U.S. and on the men's side and the women's side, Schuster and Ruonen was back and forth game. Came down to the last rock, and then Peterson and Sinclair, clearly the top two women's teams in the country. Peterson, I think that was ranked number 10 in the world. So that's pretty amazing in and of itself. But Spokane was a terrific event. The crowds came out. It was a good environment. I think everybody who was involved with it did a really terrific job. Yeah.
Well, the folks, you can pretty much follow this end of curling here without a whole lot of commentary. And not surprisingly, Danny is very happy just exchanging rocks here. Nina will probably try and get something going as this end progresses. She's putting up the corner guard here now, 2, 4, 6, 7. So yes, this is just her second rock. So again, this is the example of the delayed corner. And, you know, even though it's 6-0, it's only the third end. I would like her to make sure that she scores this end. And so what she's doing right now, I'm totally in sync with. Danny still's not going to be able to hit that rock. It's a little further to the boards than we'd like, but it's the 3 guards, so they still can come around it and possibly get a second counter if they can eventually get the blue rock out as well. So we can let you watch this end as it progresses, but generally after this rock, Danny will be able to hit, and you're going to see him continue to hit throughout the end, while Nina's going to try and get a deuce on the board while making sure that she doesn't give up another steal. So
I'm seeing something that I think is important. So, like, when we're playing a delayed corner guard, and I think when you're down like this and you know the other team's just about to peel no matter what, I might put the guard on the side of their shot rock rather than the open side, because then it might make them think twice about peeling. You want them to draw, like in the situation, right? So, like, I want to do everything I can possibly do to have them think about drawing. So I would probably, if I was going to play that delayed corner guard, I'd probably put it on the outside half of that rock because it's above the tee line. So I have a chance to maybe hit and roll later. If it was behind the tee line, it doesn't matter as much, but I think that's the way I would have played it.
Well, I think that's a very good point, Joe, because I heard someone this morning, I was not on the commentary, but I did hear someone say, why are they putting the guard on the same side as the rock in the house? Well, if you're still there, whoever was asking that question, Joe just answered it for you to some. And like you said, I mean, if it is on the same side and you're able to hit and just roll a rock, you're all of a sudden you're behind the corner guard that you put up.
Now you see they're just going to peel. They haven't thought twice about that. He ran up there to peel this rock, so you're going to wind up with a wide open end here again, which is probably not what you're looking for when you're down 6.
That's true enough. And like I said before, yes, for the rest of this end, if you see a red rock in play, you can be pretty sure Danny's going to make it disappear. But that's fine. All right, you're going to be down 6. If you can blank this end, and you'll have hammer. If you can make sure you score in the next end, maybe you'll only be down 4. And we'll go into the second half. Now, Joe, I have to ask you, you did watch all the games out there, and from a selfish point of view, I had a great time out there with a certain team that maybe you can talk about how the one junior team, Team Senate, did against the men out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Wayne, you were out there for every draw. I mean, but, you know, when you're out there watching Team Senate play, you couldn't watch their games and not come away very impressed with the way that they have improved from one year to the next. The game that Chase plays is, I think, a very mature game. So Wayne, real quick, there's the guard that we were talking about. So so he's going to try to peel it anyway, but maybe there's a chance of a jam here now, whereas I think on the other side, the jam was almost impossible. I feel like, you know, the Senate played a terrific week, really rallied pretty well to get himself a playoff spot. You know, they came up a little short in the playoffs, but you know what? I think that was a great experience for them. There's just almost jammed it. But you know what? And if that was a little later, that might have been a corner guard too. So, like, there's reasons to play towards that side. Anyway, I think Senate played a terrific week, and I expect really good things from them in the future. And I think you're doing a great job with them.
Well, that development in their strategy from one year to the next, I shout out to Keith Dropkin. He was the head coach of Team Senate throughout this year, and I was very relaxed, and I didn't have to worry or have any input on terms of strategy. Keith handled all that side of it, and coaching them did a great job. It was sort of nice. I didn't want a full-time coaching job. I wanted to follow Sarah and Taylor and Emily around in their curling events. And Keith, with his work commitments, it's a lot when every other weekend you're off traveling with the junior team that you're coaching. So he allowed me to go to a couple of spiels and their summer training out at the Olympic Training Center during the summer. And so it was a nice split of duties. And he got to do what he likes, the strategy side. I got to do what I like, the technical delivery, so it all worked out very well.
So real quick, I mean, you talked about following your daughters. Are both Sarah and Taylor playing mixed doubles next week?
They are both out in Minneapolis right now. They are currently undefeated, I think, after 3 games. I think it's just 3 games that they've had. A tough field out there in Minnesota this week. So we'll see how it turns out. But I was saying in one of the other broadcasts, Eric Clausen, he's probably watching this game being streamed. I should check my email phone here. Usually he gives me corrections when I make mistakes and lets me know how to comment on things. But if Eli is fortunate enough to advance out of the GNCC, he's hoping that his other son, Hunter, who is curling with Sarah and Taylor, and one of Eli's teammates from Team Senate, Ethan Sampson.
You're talking about mixed 4-person. I'm talking about mixed doubles next week. Both Sarah and Taylor playing that.
Okay, yes, I'm talking about the 4-person mix that's going on right now. And yes, I'm going to enjoy the beautiful weather in Bemidji, Minnesota next week, watching Sarah and Taylor both play mixed doubles there. And we'll see how that goes. So that's one of the joys of being a curling parent. You get to see a lot of America. Unfortunately, a lot of it might not be destinations that folks just voluntarily go to for vacation.
America. A lot of cold America is what you see when you're a curling parent, I suspect.
Listen, Joe, I only promised to keep you for an end here, so I want to squeeze in one more question. What kind of other developments would you like to see happen in the streaming of curling here in the United States, and maybe in particular TESN, what you might have on your agenda that people can look forward to going down the road?
Oh, man, that's an interesting question. One of the things I really hate about streaming curling right now is when teams try to take their show on the road and they plant a camera behind the house and they try to stream one direction the entire time. And for half the game, you might be able to see it pretty well, but the other half, you can't see anything down the other end. I think there's going to be technology soon that's going to allow you to put cameras on both sides and bind them in a way that allows you to do something a little bit better. And I'm kind of hopeful for that as a development down the road for these teams who would love to stream themselves, but for whatever reason can't. I think that will be the next level for sure. In terms of what we're doing, I certainly hope we're able to do big national events in the future, but that remains to be seen. So we'll see how that kind of turns out. We've been doing it for 9 years. We'd love to continue to do it. If we're not, it's probably because nationals are on TV, which is also a very good thing. So we'll see how that kind of plays out.
Now that I said you had last question, we'll get a last question, bonus question. We're down to I still got 3 rocks to come here, Joe. I'm going to steal every minute I can out of you here. What do you feel the networks are looking at in terms of maybe their future involvement? Do you have any insights that any personal just guess, even if it's not official, where you feel NBC may be going with curling, and also about sponsors? What do you think sponsors, are they becoming more aware of the sport's viewership?
Well, I certainly hope so. I mean, Toyota has become a sponsor of USA Curling. I think that's an important step. Obviously, Jägermeister was a sponsor at Nationals. I think that's a good step too. I mean, those are 2 of the big, things. Cars, alcohol. Those are 2 of the big advertising staples, I guess, in the country. In terms of what NBC might do, I'm really just speculating. I think it's very expensive to bring a full TV crew to an event like Nationals for 10 days. I think that's why what we've been able to do has been very good. However, when we did the Olympic trials the last time around, we were on the NBC Sports app for the round-robin portion, and then NBC came in and they did the playoff round. I think actually that makes a lot of sense. While NBC has a lot of network availability, it's college basketball season too, and I think that they have to at least think about that when it comes to their advertising budgets and things like that. With the money that they can bring in from college basketball is probably more than they can bring in from curling at the moment. I think that we got to be realistic about that. But being on the app costs them almost nothing, and I do think that that's probably a good logical next step.
Maybe you can mention Nina's last shot there. That freezed on the button there. That or just a little tap back. Maybe I'll comment that I love that. I mean, it just moved it. I mean, if you want to score multiple points, this is giving a challenge to Danny. Danny's saying, I'm not going to give up 3. He's removing it. That's a heck of a nice shot too, strategy-wise. Forget about the shot rock, saying, hey, just like I talked about before, acceptable outcomes, unacceptable outcomes. Unacceptable would be giving up 3 in this particular case.
And that was a tricky shot that Casper played. And I don't know Casper that well, but I know the rest of their team a bit. But, I mean, if you look at where that wound up, you could play like a really soft double, but if you overcurl just a little bit, you might take your own shot rock right out. You could also come in from the other side and try to bump the other 2 stones back a bit. But if you don't get the angle quite right, it's not going to work. So that was a pretty sneaky little shot there. This shot for 2 is going to be pretty tough.
Yes, and I think from just a morale point of view, we got to make sure we do score here, that we don't take the own red rock out and give up a steal after already lying rock. But on the other hand, you are down 6, and you sure would like to get more than 1 point here, and it is possible. Certainly, if they can tap it back 4 type weight, back 8, you can move them both, and your red rock there isn't going to go. But you do hit it on the wrong spot, and it is possible you would roll off. Well, you hear clapping over there. That can only mean one thing: that Team Pulley did something good. All right, we got the hometown team here.
Was your own daughter like a raised?
Joe just said it was my own daughter, Emily, that did a raised double. So, yes, I don't mind talking about that at all. And I did not know that was her throwing. By the way, the score in that game, Pulley took 2 in the second, and they forced 1 in the third. So they do have hammer here, and right now they are shot rock on the top 4, and the opposition, Team Shaw, has 1 in the back 8. And I had it backwards. Had it backwards.
Shaw's sitting 2 now.
Shaw's sitting 2. No guards out front. Top 4 and back 8. They have it.
Switching games and watching that.
There you go. There is a feed, by the way, if you haven't already figured it out. Sheet B as well as Sheet C here. The cord for this microphone only goes as far as Sheet C, though, so you're getting Sheet C commentated. Okay, let's watch this shot. Nina coming down. It's close. She wants to hit that rock on the blue, on the nose. Got to get by the red. And, so close, but she does not give up a steal. It was a matter of a quarter of an inch, I would say, from being a perfect shot for 2. But she is on the scoreboard. All right, so we have a 6-1 score with the 4th end coming up. Thank you, Joe. And Joe, thank you for your Joe, thank you very much for your time. I know this is work for you, but we appreciate having you.
It was fun being here again. Just going to catch the rest of that Pulley game and probably head out. But thanks a lot, Wayne, for doing this. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, and all the best with TESN, and thank you for folks being able to see this type of stuff. We are going to have Joel Lineker in the 4th end break, but we might be able to steal him a little earlier, so towards the end of the 3rd end. We'll see what happens here as we get underway. We'll talk a little bit of curling here. Thank you for patience and letting you commentate by yourselves on what was happening in that last end, but it really is fantastic what Joe and his team at TESN.US is doing to allow folks who have never maybe stepped foot in a curling club to be able to see quality curling. And this is just stuff that is set up in a club. Any club can have this type of setup, quality viewing. They can decide whether they want to have commentating on it or not. I know some clubs have it at every league set up. The cameras are rolling. Anyone can watch. And so here we go. We're going to have things flipped again. Nina going with trying to get center line guards. Danny trying to keep things away from the middle. right, Sydney Mullaney. Again, throwing lead rock. She has been throwing vice here. They're all capable of playing any position here on the team. These juniors, although they're young in age, a lot of them have curled more years than a lot of the other folks here in the competition. Again, most of them starting by the time they were old enough to throw a rock. So I am going to take advantage of Joel being here. We'll go through the fourth end break with him. But I just noticed him walk up here beside me. I'll let Joel tell you exactly what his job description is from both a GNCC and a USCA point of view. All I know Joel best for is that if you go to Nutmeg and you're in a Bonspiel, if Joel's on the organizing committee, you're going to have a fun time. Joel, here it is. Maybe you can fill folks in on exactly what your role is in GNCC and USCA.
Thank you, Wayne. Yes, for this event, I am the GNCC Mixed Championship Coordinator. And what does that mean? That means all the work that goes into this event before the event happens is my responsibility. So I'm also a cheerleader for the event, so I make sure our region knows everything about the event when registration is held at the USCA website. And I also am responsible for finding host sites. So we're always looking for clubs to host this event. This event is really one of the greatest camaraderie championships. And what I mean by that is that the teammates, although they all wish to become the team to represent the GNCC in the U.S. Nationals, Mixed Nationals, they also know each other, and they also enjoy playing against each other, and it also brings a much higher level of play than, let's say, maybe a really competitive Bonspiel or whatnot. Yeah. So people really do enjoy coming here. So my job as a coordinator is just that, to get the event organized, follow up with the event, make sure the team that wins gets everything they need to go on to Nationals.
Now, I'm sure you didn't have any help from anybody here once it gets to on-site, right? Is there any who takes over after the event has started?
Well, of course, as you all know, if you've run a Bonspiel or any type of athletic event, you can't do it yourself. So we have a host site chair, which is Dorothy Roach from the Rochester Curling Club. We also have Mike
coordinator.
Cowbell coordinator. We also have Mike Han, who is our chief umpire. All these events, as you know, have umpires that are making sure they follow USCA rules. If there's any questions, they're there to help the teams. And of course, the Rochester Curling Club membership turns over the club to the USCA in this case to run this event because it is a USCA-sponsored event.
Well, certainly the event has. I've just got nothing but kudos for you and Dorothy and the rest of the team who's been running this event. It's gone seamlessly. I haven't heard anyone complain about anything, not even the ice, which is surprising because you always have half the teams losing, right? I mean, the ice is fantastic. As I said before, the speed is great on this. Here's Eli doing his favorite thing, just making rocks disappear. It's nice. I mean, a lot of people can throw the rock hard, but throwing the rock hard and where you want it to go, that's another thing. And no problem with him having that rock go both hard and accurately. So this end, it looks like going to be difficult to steal here. But we'll see how things turn out down the road. The other thing that you're involved in, Joel, of course, one of your responsibilities as GNCC rep is hosting their court, like you said, getting this set up for the mixed. But you're also on the GNCC board, and you also have representation in the USCA. Maybe you can talk just a little bit about what that is, what's going on in the GNCC right now, also maybe what's going on in the USCA from your perspective.
That's right, Wayne. In addition to coordinating this event, I'm also one of two USCA representatives, or directors on the United States Curling Association Board. And the way the board is comprised is there's various regions, each have representation to this national organization. Our job as a director is, of course, to help organize, run be responsible for the advancement of USA curling in the United States. And it's actually been a really great opportunity. We serve for 2-year terms. This will be my 4th year. And most notably, as you may know, that we have hired a new CEO, Jeff Plush. That whole process of finding talent was tremendous. We had a wonderful search committee, worked with a professional agency in bringing us some of the top talent to bring USA Curling forward. We started out with 15 candidates. It was then narrowed down to 9 to 10. From there, it was narrowed even further to 5 to 6, and then ultimately it came down to 2 candidates. I'm really honored to know that we had an outstanding young woman as well as a young man as the final 2 candidates. We had a meeting in the end of February to meet and greet with these people, learn more about them, and they also made some wonderful presentations to us. Then after a bit of deliberation, the board voted, and our result is Mr. Jeffrey Plush. I think a lot of great things will come forward with United States Curling. Jeffrey brings a lot of professional knowledge in sport, has a good relationship with the USOPC, which is the United States Curling and Paralympic Committee. He also has a lot of great contacts with other sponsors and, let's say, pools of money, which every organization needs some money to advance the sport. We have great hopes for him, and I think you'll see some really good things coming out of United States Curling in the next 2 to 3 years.
Well, I have to second your opinion on Jeff Plush. I had the opportunity to talk to him on several occasions while we're out at men's and women's nationals in Spokane, and he came across, like you said, a very polished gentleman who, if you're talking about trying to get sponsors in corporate America and his knowledge, I brought up that Palm Desert would be a great spot to have a Grand Slam come, and his knowledge of the one person who could really pull that off in Palm Desert, he was right on top of it, talking about it. So he's right in there, and it is interesting. We do have a Grand Slam that's going to be coming to the U.S. the first time in Vegas coming up here. Now, I imagine that was in the works before Jeff came on board, but I think his knowledge, and like you say, the connections he already has in corporate America as well as sports America is going to be a real plus. And both my wife and I were very impressed with just how comfortable he was talking with the general public, curling public there out in Spokane. Well, we got this end going. I've still got Joel here. We're going to have a few minutes of airtime during the 4th end break that'll be coming up shortly. So let's focus a little while here on how this end finishes. Again, Danny Casper trying to make sure that he does not give up a steal this end. And as you can see, there is not a single rock either in the house or out front that's inside the 4-foot lines. That's the way he has planned this, so that he can make sure that if things went bad, he would at least be able to score on his last shot. And despite Nina's team being able to get that guard nicely behind there, Susan Dutt coming down and making that disappear. But Nina's team also put that nice freeze on the rock on the other side of the house, sort of eliminating blue possible counters. And that was a nice shot from a defensive perspective. She's now looking at coming down and freezing on the back one. That may not be shot rock if she does that. But again, she's looking at making sure she doesn't give up a big end here. And she would be very happy if she can force Danny to take one here. Has to be getting a little tiring for Patty out there right now, sweeping a lot of rocks since this has begun. And when you're the only sweeper, you know, it doesn't matter whether you're the inside sweeper or the outside sweeper, you're sweeping, usually on hits one sweeper is getting a break, but not here. So here it comes, Nina's first rock, and Patty's following it down, not having to do anything with it just yet. Nina taking it easy on her, and now they're going sweeping. I think it's for line probably. It's going hard. It's going hard. I hope they get it by. Oh, again, it's that worst case scenario, just ticking and rolling back. But she still has another one. She still has that guard that frozen rock that's out counting 3 blue counters. And Danny isn't making a play on it right now, and I like that. He doesn't need to get greedy right here. He's counting 1 over on that side. If he can still split the house and count 1 on the other side as well, and have Nina looking at 2, as a 2 count is all he sort of needs to be very comfortable going into the halftime break. We've talked about the beautiful speed on this ice, which has been up to as fast as close to 15 seconds. Certainly 14.5 is very doable through a lot of the game, hog to hog. And the curl in general is very nice as well. So that's folks who don't get enough credit for the enjoyment that we as curlers have when we're at Bonspiels or even in club curling, is those guys who are doing the ice and making it so that the skill of the curlers can be best demonstrated. And they've certainly done an outstanding job here in Rochester. Hats off to the Rochester ice crew. And here again, there's that sweeping ability. Look at these 2 go. Sidney Mullaney, Eli Clausen moving that rock. All right, I think about 3 inches short of where they really wanted that. Maybe a little more than that. They would have liked to have outcounted the red. All right, Nina changing it up a little bit here. Looks like she's actually trying to draw around the other side. I think, I presume she's trying to get half buried behind these rocks for her on the left side of the sheet. Patty giving it a little strength. They cannot afford to disrupt these rocks that are on the top of the house here. They're trying to go around behind it. I think she left that just about in the worst spot you can leave it. Danny will be trying to hit hard on the shot rock on the inside. And if he hits it on the inside hard, you're going to see that rock bounce sideways, take both out. We may have more than a 4th end break coming up here if he does this. Well, I guess the red one at the back may be out counting 2 blues, but you're gonna see a few rocks disappear here. Certainly, he hits it where he wants to. I think both of those reds right there are going to go. And this is one of the advantages, again, of being able to throw firm weight accurately and being able to... Danny really can put that broom right where he wants to hit the rock. And here it is. This is less than 7 seconds going from one end to the other. I don't have my stopwatch, but I've watched enough rocks come down. This is going in. Bang, bang. That. And nobody's standing by on the cowbell, but certainly that could have gone. Counting them up. 1, 2, 3, 4 for sure. And then it's whether it's 5 or not is the next question.
I there's a lot of money in that. They say.
And that is, we're going to have more than a fourth end break, but I'm still going to take advantage of Joel here. We can talk a little bit about what's going on in the other sheets after it gets going. But Joel, GNCC, it's so great, the growth of what we've had happening here in the GNCC. I suppose that's all sometimes has good, that's obviously good from more curlers here, but there's also challenges that probably come with growth. What are some of those issues that the GNCC is facing just from an organizational growth perspective?
3 to 6 they took it.
Certainly with the Olympics, we had a huge explosion of interest in curling, and I don't think we see that waning much. I think most clubs are still seeing people at their Learn to Curls. People are still interested. I'm just going to give one plug for our ambassadors program for the United States Curling Association. Tyler George, who was on the gold medal Olympic team, has been a wonderful ambassador traveling throughout the United States, helping clubs either fundraise, raise awareness of technique, or just being at the club and talking about his experience in the Olympics. I will give us one more plug before I really answer your question, is that he is also available right now. If you go to the USCA website, you can actually have Tyler George come on over to your club and help you out with whatever you're looking to do. So there is an opportunity for clubs across the United States.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Tyler George and the ambassador program, because I was out there, and one of the things that was brought to folks' attention was the importance of helping fund the Granite Society. And I understand the Granite Society takes those funds and puts it into areas that are not in the USCA budget. And my understanding is the ambassador program is one such thing where we as U.S. curlers or U.S. doesn't even have to be a curler, a U.S. Fan of curling, someone who's enjoying streaming such as this, but it's a way of helping good things happen in curling that wouldn't otherwise happen because there just isn't enough funds available. And so maybe you can talk a little bit about the Granite Society. I know one person who might not be too disappointed that you were bringing this up.
Yes, the Granite Society does, as you know, of any organization, can always use more funds. So the Granite Society was organized to fill the void or any opportunities that we might have thought of, but we said, well, we really didn't budget that money for that kind of opportunity. And so the Granite Society was formed for people to make donations, and all of the funds go to various opportunities at the USCA level. So the Granite Society is one of those. Jennifer Stannard is the chairperson right now of that organization, and I've been working with her on some marketing, some promotion work as far as getting the word out. We do look, there is different levels of giving that you can find out at the website, but more importantly, it does fill this need. Junior program, we're looking to expand that furthermore. Of course, we're always, juniors are our future, and so that would be one area of where these funds are going. But right now, Wayne, you're correct. The ambassador program is, for the most part, being funded by that Granite Society.
And maybe you can talk about Dave Fink and the GNCC's effort. You mentioned junior funding and stuff, and the Second Century Fund there. Dave's mentioned to me that the GNCC has been able to accumulate some funds over time and set them aside so that the proceeds from that can be doled out to help with junior curling camps, etc. And that's another way that if you're looking for making a donation, you've got the Granite Society, you've got the GNCC Youth Program, so there's a number of opportunities to help out growth.
That's absolutely true. And to get back to your original question about the GNCC, about the role, opportunities in the growth of the GNCC. If you don't know, our latest club that's joined the GNCC is the Rocket City Curling Club down in Huntsville, Alabama.
I did not know that.
Okay, so that's our latest. So the region has grown a great geographically very big. So there's good news that we have more curlers, more interest on the East Coast. There's also a challenge in the sense that we have this big geographical area. So how do you, as a regional governing body, try to make sure you serve all of your curlers? And one way is we decided to bring many of the 5 and under events to clubs such as the Triangle Curling Club, the Charlotte Curling Club, Peachtree Curling Club, and those are the Dykes, which is our Francis Dykes tournament, which is the men's tournament. Is a huge event that ranges from teams of 40 to 56 to 64. The women's team is coming, or the child's event is coming down to Peachtree, Georgia. I think everyone will be enjoying going to the south after sitting through a long winter.
Better than Bemidji.
For sure. And then, of course, Triangle have already hosted the mixed version, which was the Raymond Kaiser event. And from the words that we've heard from, at least from the Nutmeg teams that were a part of that, they love the weather, they love the event, they love the food, and they love the people. So that was one way we tried to bring everybody together.
And I can tell you the folks from Philadelphia and Bucks also really enjoyed that, coming away with a little bit of hardware in addition to the good time they had down there.
So the other opportunities, of course, is making curlers better and providing clinics and whatnot to the various clubs. And so there are, as Wayne had referred to, the junior camps. I think there's going to be 2 again this year, correct?
That is my understanding.
Okay. So that's a great opportunity for all our young, new junior curlers that want to improve or just want to get better as well, or even get up to the next level. So that those clinics will be available. There has been some talk now about more instructional clinics, training people to teach curling, both on level 1 and a level 2 level. There is also some talk about a coaching clinic coming out to the East Coast, because many of those oftentimes are held out in the Midwest. And Lord knows, any sport, you need all kinds of people. You need coaches, you need umpires, you need players, of course. The GNCC also has a Second Century Fund, which is a fund set up a number of years ago, and there's a nice chunk of money sitting there for to promote junior curlers, helping defray some of the cost of some of our junior curlers for travel, clinics, and whatnot. Great opportunity. Again, you can contact the GNCC for those opportunities. There's an annual meeting every year. It comes up this year. Will be May 15th and 16th in Albany, New York. If you've never attended one of those, I would urge you to go there, because you can learn everything you ever wanted to know about the GNCC and opportunities for your club and as a curler.
Well, that is certainly true. The GNCC provides a lot, and sometimes it just is a matter of asking and finding out what resources are available. And Joel, you mentioned the coaching. One of the things that they are trying to get going as well is a mentoring program for coaches, and I have been approached to whether I'd be willing to help out on the north side of that, and have sort of said, yes, I've got to develop sort of a curriculum, but bottom line is if someone is out there and they're trying to develop a junior curling, that maybe the juniors have now sort of expressed an interest in becoming more competitive and looking at trying to seriously improve, and the coach is like I started out, just being a parent. I found out, having 5 daughters all at different stages, the first one got pretty mediocre coaching, the next one got a little bit better, and by the time it got to Sarah and Taylor, it was getting a little bit better yet. And so instead of trying to reinvent the wheel yourself out there, if you're a coach, if you want to contact me, I'd be happy to try and point out some of the things I learned along the way and mentor you as a coach. So feel free to contact, but that's just one more example. The GNCC pushing to try and find, in addition to the actual coaching 1 and coaching 2, sort of saying, hey, what about from a practical point of view on ice, not just sort of head theory what to do as a coach, but hey, when you're right down there out on the ice with them, what works, what doesn't work, what have you found? So feel free. That's the way it is. One last question, Joel, and then we'll get back to summarizing what's going on. Well, in fact, before that question, let me summarize what's going on the sheets. Although folks maybe have been looking at curling zone and stuff, they can tell. We do have over on sheet D. Well, we got Burke versus Marashilo, right? Close enough. Our head umpire shakes his head. Yes, it's close enough. Marashulo. And right now, it's Brume up 6-0 after 4 ends of play. Whereas over on sheet B, we had a tied ball game at 2-all, low-scoring affair after 4 ends of play. So Shaw has hammer, they stole in the 4th. So it's back to Pulley having hammer in a tied ball game here in the 5th end. I guess one last thing, and you may kick me for this one, but I've heard rumors that, boy, the GNCC is getting so big. If it was to go into a north and south, how would that happen? What has to happen if that was something? And I don't need you to voice whether you want it to happen or not to happen, but just theoretically, if someone wanted to pursue that and make it happen, how would it have to happen?
Well, first of all, as you know, the USCA is made up of individual regions, and the board of directors, there will be a change as to the number of regions, or a representation, within the regions coming next year. All right. So we've, for instance, the GNCC used to have 2 directors. We're going to have 1. But then again, Alaska had 1, so now they're combining with Washington. They'll each have half of a vote. So it kind of starts there as far as where the individual representation is to the United States Curling Association. But should a region as big as the GNCC decide that, well, we're a volunteer region, it takes a lot of manpower to provide the best quality services. If a group of curling clubs wish to form their own region, they may do so. The USCA is not really going to come in and say, GNCC, you're too big, we're going to cut you in half. The USCA really wants to see that development come from the individual region. So obviously there's been some talk of, maybe some clubs in the South might want to group together and decide that they'd like to have their own region, that they could serve their membership maybe a little bit better. That would have to come from a group of clubs saying to the GNCC, you know what, we would like to be our own region. And I believe that the GNCC, is not there to prohibit any curling club or organization. Obviously, everyone has to work together on that, because what you want, the outcome is you want all strong regions providing the best quality curling experience for everyone. So I guess the takeaway is that the USCA is not really going to come down to you and say, GNCC, you must split. And also, I think from my experience working with the GNCC and serving on the board, it's always been, if there's a group of people that says, you know what, we could be better served by our own region, then they need to bring that forward, and then the groups would work together to create those 2 separate regions in our case.
Joel, I want to thank you for not only your time here, but for the years that you've put into helping the GNCC. I mean, for me, my love and my passion is coaching, and it's on-ice coaching, like I said, delivery and stuff like that. That, for me, is not work, but being on a board, the things that make things happen so that curling clubs can enjoy the benefits that the GNCC puts out, the USCA puts out, that's work for me. And I think it's, by times, I'm sure it has to be work for you and your fellow folks. And so, folks, if you're out there, before you complain about anything that the GNCC is doing or the USCA is doing, what have you done to volunteer to help make things better, all right? So before you complain about anything, make sure you are one of the ones who are volunteering and helping make things better here in curling in the United States. But Joel, so thank you very much. Thank you for your years of service, and I look forward to getting to Nutmeg again and enjoying the bonspiels that I'm sure you will continue to have input in. And so in terms of this, feel free to continue checking the curling zone for the line scores or going on to the website here streamed. It will not have commentary, but from Sheet B. It's a great match going on over there. You might want to pick it up. It's 4-all, and I don't know what happened in the fifth end, but it's a blank. So Pulley pretty happy with the fifth end. They had hammer, and they're coming home tied in the sixth end. So why don't you take a peek at that, folks, and see how that turns out. Anyway, really enjoyed our time and enjoyed chatting with you, Joel, as always. So, folks, from here in Rochester, it's Wayne Anderson signing off from the 2020 GNCC Mixed Playdowns.
So we're shooting for like a 4-5.
Push it. You're floating the
Don't need to touch it.
Only Stephen ever. Yes, Stephen, go! Wherever both of you are! I'm getting
Same way. Guard, tight guard. Tight guard, two guard.
curl.